Mountain, Island, Lightning Bolt, Snowpierce, Switchblade, Stab Wound, Red Mage, Blue Mage.
Welcome, everybody, to Red Mage Blue Mage 3 Kings Edition.
Woohoo! Three kings.
I'm joined by Seth.
Hello.
And I'm joined by Josh.
Bonjour.
And both of you have been on the show before. Josh has been on twice? Once?
Once.
Just for a cube draft.
Just for a spanking by Kenny, you know.
Just one cube draft at the very dawn of COVID, as I recall.
Yeah, it was. It was quite tense.
Yeah.
For many reasons.
Yeah, I was at your house on the onset of everything going haywire, and we're like, what a good way to end the world than with a cube draft.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. And then Seth and I have, of course, played a good deal of Magic on here, and we've also talked a good deal of Magic.
Yeah.
So, you may know these gentlemen from Magic, but what else might they know you from? Josh, you're the man, the myth, the legend.
Gosh, thank you. I am one of the co-owners of the Geekspective network, which, due to COVID, has really not been doing much. You used to be able to find me on Tales from Moxbury. We used to do other fun things like go to conventions. Maybe one of these days, all that stuff will start up again. But what you can really find me on right now is I'm making a tabletop role-playing game called Forged in the Dungeon. If you like Dungeons and Dragons and you like Blades in the Dark or Forged in the Dark games, check it out.
Yeah, if you're a Magic nerd and you're like me and in denial about how much of a nerd you are, it might be time to take the plunge and start some role-playing games.
There we go.
It's good.
How about you, Seth?
Well, I'm probably going to go the opposite route with that. I'm kind of the corporate shill. I've been working in corporate for about 12 years now. Recently just got a new job, actually. And before that, I worked at a medical device company and used that to kind of fund my Magic adventures, essentially, at that point. So you know, from a gaming perspective or anything, nobody's gonna know me besides here on Red Mage Blue Mage. But do a lot of like volunteer work. Love traveling with my girlfriend here. We're actually in the Boston area here for a little bit, and probably moving on to another place here halfway soon. So sometime next year. And it's been a lot of fun. But it's I'm looking forward to this conversation here. So it'll be good to have the Three Kings debut here.
That's right. And I think Josh was originally the person who said, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on in Magic right now.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff. So much stuff. Should we just talk about the biggest monetary thing?
Yeah, what are you referring to exactly?
The 30th anniversary edition. Hey, let's make some money before everything goes sideways.
Is that how you perceive this? I guess we should start what exactly is for people who are not paying attention or don't care, have your head under a rock in the sand. What is 30th anniversary edition?
Yes, it is for $1,000. You get the privilege of getting 4 booster packs that have a different back to them, a gold bordered back, and in each pack there is I think like a certain amount of uncommons, majority of uncommons, like 2 or 3 uncommons, 1 rare, and then 2 retro frames, one being a land and the other one, I guess this is random, so maybe a chance for another rare.
Something beta, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So all this is beta cards as well. Because it's random, you could get a Black Lotus, or you could get I don't remember. There's lots
something
of crappy
much
rares
less,
in beta. Yeah.
Savannah Alliance. I actually don't know what rarity Savannah Alliance, but yeah, you could get all kinds of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should dwell as well on. You said they are gold bordered. And
They are.
What does that mean exactly? So they had this long ago, cards that they printed with a gold border. So we all know about black border, regular ass Magic. Silver border are cards, so sort of the joke cards, although that's a little bit...
That's changed as well.
That's also different, which we can talk about later. But that's what silver border used to mean, sort of outside the game. And then they had these tournament edition cards with a gold border. And what those were, they were ways to celebrate decks that had won major tournaments. In particular, I think Worlds winning decks. They basically took the entire deck list of the winning deck and made it available. You could just buy in a single box the entire deck, except it was in a gold border and it did not have a regular Magic back. It had like an advertisement on the back. I actually have one of these cards in my cube. It's a Wrath of God. And these are not tournament legal. That's the important thing. Gold border means it looks just like a Magic card on the front side, has a gold border, the back is not Magic, and it's not tournament legal. It's like the best looking proxy you could ever get. The most authentic proxy.
It's an official proxy.
Whatever that means. These are a little bit different than those in that they actually on the front have black border. So on the actual card face, they look like a real Magic card. And on the back, they have not a normal Magic back, and they're going to be gold bordered to indicate not tournament legal. Just to muddy things up a little bit more.
However, there is a precedence for this with the collector's edition back in 90 whatever. But in that, for shy of $50, you got a copy of every single beta card plus 60 lands. So all the dual lands, everything, one of each, for $50, and they had a gold border as well. I don't remember if the front of the card was gold as well, but the back, the front was black. The front was black, and the back was gold. So they've done this treatment before, with even
long ago,
and the corners were square and not circular.
That's right. I actually think I have one of those in my collection too. I have a square bordered fast bond, I believe. Anyway, not to brag or anything about my own collection. So yeah, there's a little bit of a precedent there. And then I guess one final bit of context, and we can talk about all of this in more detail, is the reserve list, which we have an entire episode dedicated to on Red Mage Blue Mage. You can go listen to that. We give the whole history. Amber rages about it, and we talk all about it. And basically, the short, condensed version of that is, in the early days of Magic, it was very quickly a collector's thing. People were buying cards, seeking out the rare cards that were going to fetch a big price. Wizards, in the early days, it was the first, collectible trading card game, so they didn't know what the hell they were doing exactly. They printed another edition where they flooded the market, essentially, with a bunch of, at the time, highly sought-after cards. Really made collectors mad, and it felt like the whole game was in jeopardy. So they issued a promise in a magazine saying, we're not going to print these cards again. And this became the reserved list. And they added a few more cards to it later.
I'm fairly certain there was a legal contract signed with certain third parties as well during this establishment.
Yeah. And so they made this promise, which they have, by and large, stuck very hard and fast to. And in recent years, especially leading up to this announcement that they've just made of 30th anniversary, have been very publicly saying, no chance, never going to happen, not gold bordered, not silver bordered, not anything. Don't stop thinking about it in your dreams. And then there's like, fuck it. 30th anniversary edition, here you go. Okay, so with all that on the table, can I just get some general reactions to this product? Seth, what's your initial impression reaction here?
For me, I was a little confused whenever I saw just the price of that. So, I mean, I know
why
there's so many different ways you can play Magic, and we won't even get into all of them there. But what the beauty of that is that there's such a price difference that for entry. I mean, you can play Pauper decks, which, don't cost all that much. Those are easy to actually get into if you can find a group of people who want to play it. There you go. You can play Commander. You can play, that can be as expensive as you want. And and then tournament play, I guess that's what I was trying to get at here. Like tournament play, you're going to be spending a lot of money because if you're not playing one of the top tier decks, you're going to get beat by a top tier deck. And there's a lot of demand for those cards, and there's only so many of those cards to go around. They're going to be expensive, supply and demand. So now Wizards comes out with these unusable cards for $1,000.
Tournament-wise.
Yeah, tournament-wise. So it kind of knocks out those kinds of things there. I guess you can still play them in Commander or like any of the casual sets. That's fine, whatever. But $1,000. That really boggles my mind. Like they've been flirting with more and more expensive stuff, and $300-$400 some kind of mythic bonus packs and stuff like that, or kind of limited edition stuff like that. But they generally do anything from, you got like a booster pack, which is like $3, to anywhere to like the $300 range for
all the way up to the Modern Master in 2022.
Yeah.
4 packs for $400.
Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, this is over double that. And then I was looking at an article. I was trying to research kind of the subject a little bit more, and I personally did not do the math myself, so I can't confirm this, but I did see an article where somebody said there's about a 4.2% chance of actually getting a Black Lotus. So, with any pack. So essentially,
you mean like buying one of these boxes?
Yes.
You buy 4 packs.
Yeah, you get about a 4% chance. So you're gonna, in order to actually get a 100% chance, you're gonna have to buy 24 of these boxes,
5,000-ish.
Yeah. So you're going to spend a lot of money, just trying to get a Black Lotus, where you could just go buy an actual legal alpha, or maybe not alpha, but an actual beta.
You can get
Black
yourself
Lotus.
some kind of Black Lotus.
Or you can go buy a car, which gets you, whatever you want. It's your money. You do whatever you want with it. But I don't see where this actually falls into play. I'm going to try and give Hasbro and Wizards a little credit here, to say that maybe they're trying to test a market, because if you think about it, us three, as example, we're all 30-somethings with stable jobs, a little bit of savings, stuff like that. Maybe $1,000 isn't... I'm trying here. I'm really trying here. I can't give them much credit. I'm just going to preface this. Maybe the $1,000 barrier is not really something that we really care about as much, and maybe they're trying to find that market. But I think the bigger question is, how do you keep graduate? So you play in high school, you play in college, maybe just outside of college and stuff like that. What is that market to keep somebody in their 30s and their 40s? Now that we're getting into 30th edition stuff, that age group who just started playing in alpha and beta and them, or they're getting older. Either they're not playing, or can you figure out a way to keep them on the hook for more money there on that one? So maybe that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, they're hunting for whales. I mean, that's truly what it is. So, to me, they're wanting to see how well they can sell a useless product for an exorbitant amount. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think I have a reaction too, and I think I saw Josh react as well. The bit you were saying on testing.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you think about that?
It's totally testing, right? They've always been inching the bar. A lot of their testing was in Secret Lair, right?
Yeah.
So Secret Lair was direct to consumer, and this is another direct to consumer product, and they're doing limited print instead of print on demand, because Secret Lair has shifted over the years to being crap, but that's another topic. But now they're going to test out this new product, and since it's a limited print, if it sells out, they're going to be like, hella, we can make even more money, and it's totally going to sell out.
Yeah. I was going to say, is there any doubt about that?
No. But what does that mean, though, for them? If they just have such a small printing, and they have, let's just say there's 1 billion people that play Magic, okay? I don't know what the number is. Let's just say, round it out to 1 billion. I'm just going to make it easy, okay? If they made I don't know, 10,000 of these, that's what, 0.001% of the population who actually plays Magic is actually buying them. What's that telling you? Like, that you got a small sample of people who will actually buy this stuff, and now you just keep... I mean, it's like the 1%ers, right? Like, we always have that discussion, in Wall Street and all that stuff. Now we're just going to cater to the 1% in Magic now, too. Is that what they're wanting to do?
Well, they still have their tiers of products.
Sure,
it's just like mobile apps and stuff where you can spend god amounts on mobile apps. It's just like, all right, here's for your 1%ers or 5%ers or whatever like that. You buy these products, but we still have draft for now. Yeah. We still have set, we have collectors, and we have all these secret layers to get to the masses. Yeah. But if they can get 20% of their revenue out of that 1 to 5%, hell yeah.
I might as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's one, testing to see where is the line. Mm-hmm. Because I think, Josh, you already brought up Modern Masters 2, which garnered kind of a similar reaction to, like, are you serious? Like, with the prices per pack on these things? Or just any of these collectors' products. And that number has just been creeping up and up and up. And to me, this almost feels like, what can we get away with exactly? What if we sell them cards that you can't even use in tournaments? And what if we charged them $1,000? And not only that, what if we didn't even promise them the cards that they're looking for and just said it's, spin the wheel and see what you get?
Yeah.
It's like they took every dial and just cranked it up to the maximum, basically. So to me, it's kind of like, what could we potentially get away with?
I was going to say, correction, it's Double Masters 2022, and I'm just looking at price history. It started at $400. You can get a set for now $260. But we're also in a bear market, and so everything is down.
I think that's I think that's...
And this is going to be different because it's like, here it is, and then it's gone, right? Like, there's only going to be so much of this. So I wrote down the question, what exactly the fuck is this, and who exactly the fuck is it for? Does that just the answer we land on? It's just for the whales, and it's just for Wizards to see what they can get away with, essentially?
For the whales, at least for me, it's for the whales and for the speculators. And disclosure, I'm a speculator, and I'm still weighing if I'm going to buy it or not. But I have a very strong feeling if I did, I would get a return on it. But yeah, I'm one of those bad people. A lot of the people in the hobby would say.
Well, I mean, there's a reason that I wanted to talk to both of you in particular, is because you both have or currently do engage in the game from a collection speculation side of things. You're both numbers analysis guys, so it's a perspective that I don't get into in the game, and Amber really doesn't get into. Like,
Amber really hates it,
but I think she enjoys. I don't know. It is interesting, I think, is what I would say. Like, it's a topic because MTG Finance has come up on the show before. And I think we just find it interesting as people outside of that world. Sure. And Wizards is very interested in both of you as part of their demographic, clearly.
Yeah.
I think to approach 30th Anniversary Edition from my own perspective, I mean, clearly it's been... Would you both say it's fair to say it's been widely denounced by the Magic community as a whole?
Yeah. Twitter just blew up on this. Yeah.
Yeah. And even like some speculators, actually before we got on the call, there's a channel that got, well, the channel did, but the video got recommended called MTG Mystery, something like that. And it's a collector store speculator thing. And they were talking about, they basically have bought every Magic product that comes out as an investment. And the video I watched was them saying, we're going back and we're saying we are not buying 30th Anniversary Edition. And it was very clear that they did that because their customer base was like, no, you shouldn't do this. This is outrageous. And so they are taking a stand on it and saying it's not worth it to us, like basically the damage we would do to our own reputation by buying this, which was pretty interesting to me. I mean, that at least suggests we're at least creeping up on the line. To me, the problem with 30th anniversary is just how insulting it is, especially presented as we want to celebrate the game and we want to celebrate the players who, you know, have made this game so great. And we're going to do that by making a product that players desperately want and making it absolutely unattainable for most people.
Yeah. No, I do think they alienated their audience with this one, and I don't get why they did it. Whales aside, like I understand what they're trying to do with this, and but yeah, for them to advertise this as one of their, like, you know, highlight things, you know, I would have just put this one in the corner, like, oh, by the way, here's this. That's probably what I would have done personally, but no, for them to just come out and say, hey, this is what we're coming out with for 30th anniversary here. You know, go further into debt for us, please.
I just don't think it would have been hard for them to offer basically the same exact product at a reasonable price and then say, here is a highly collectible version. Whatever that means, like maybe in the old frames.
Guaranteed old frames, and the cheaper is just modern frames or something like that.
And that the cheap ones are $50 to $100. Yeah. And then the old frames special treatments are the insane, like, test your market, see what people will actually buy, and probably people would have still bought them because if they're expensive, hard to come by, and limited, and with this special treatment, they would have done just as well.
Yeah, if they would have used, like, I'm thinking now of, like, old border treatment or old treatment, and having as close to the same stock, because the stock, if you feel alpha beta stock versus any stock nowadays, especially from all the different printers, if they're like, we got stock that is very, very close, being able to feel it as well or get as close to it would have been, that would have been nice.
If you're going to charge that premium too, just go all out and do something ridiculous.
Yeah. I was actually looking at their quarterly transcript there, and they just bought a whole bunch of card stock that they're just going to hang on to for a long time because of pricing. So, and God, the end of that print run's going to be awful because, you know, I'm sure they're going to do, like, think of those foils. I mean, they're probably going to be crinkling before they even start. You know, like, they're probably going to print off this for, like, the next 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be bad. It just kind of tells you, like, where they're going with stuff. I mean, they're just trying to... And like, Hasbro, is one of their big initiatives is to reduce costs wherever possible. So, and they said their printers are, I think, half their costs at that point. I don't have the actual number right here with me, but they were saying that they have to focus on all their printing. Now, this is Hasbro saying that, so that's also including, like, Monopoly, Risk, all the board game stuff like that, included in all that stuff. So, you know, they don't really break it up between, like, Wizards and how much, like, that's going to cost. But the fact remains, they're focused on cost cutting. That is, they're making it very clear to their shareholders. That's what they're trying to do. So,
well, that's a good question for later as well. You say, like, you know, Hasbro's cost is in printing. How much of that is Wizards versus Hasbro? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like Wizards is Hasbro essentially, as far as the money coming in. Yes. But we can touch on that in a bit. Yeah. I wanted to, unless we have something else here, I wanted to jump to Secret Layers and Universes Beyond as a related topic. Because now we're coming up on nearly 4 years of, I'm just lumping them together, Secret Layers, Universes Beyond. So it's been, you know, we've had a good amount of time to get used to it. What's the verdict on Secret Layers? Where are we landing in our thinking? I guess I'll start with Josh, because you were even suggesting earlier Secret Layers is poo-poo.
Yeah, I really should have got on Secret Layers when it first came out. Like, I think about the first few years as the sweet spot, and then I think in the last year they started going almost print on demand with some of their treatments or some of their selections. And I'm just like, And there's so many now. There's so many secret layers, and a lot of them are print on demand, or they're not saying that, but how they are advertising sales for certain sets. It's just like, no, this isn't special anymore. You're just using this as a vehicle for testing a whole bunch of, because they've actually done a lot of evolution in their packaging, like from environmentally friendly stuff. You can see the evolution. I'm like, all right, they're figuring out their cost cutting. They're figuring out their new way of doing this. Yeah. They test out serialized numbers. They test out a whole bunch of different stuff. It's their test platform. As a previous R&D engineer, I'm like, hell yeah, I've done this kind of stuff before in a completely other industry. And so, from a company perspective, fantastic. From a consumer perspective, it's not special anymore. It fucking sucks. Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you what the most recent secret layers were.
Zodiac's right now.
That's just the yearly one. No, there's other ones that are just going on all the time. I think one of them I just saw leaked was Post Malone.
Yeah, I saw they were doing that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a thing with secret layers instantaneously. I know the prof at Tolarian Community College, it just became a total meme on his channel almost immediately with the new secret layer alert. Yeah. Like, he'd be doing a video about the most recent secret layer, and then as a joke, quote unquote, it's pretty realistic, he would interrupt his own video on a secret layer with an announcement of a new secret layer that was being done. And he made his prediction, I think after the first year of secret layers, he made his prediction that there would be on average one secret layer a week. I think this was 2021 he made that prediction.
I think so. And he was like, I think when he did the recap, they were at like 48 or something like that.
It was like 4 off of a full 52. Which, I mean, maybe some people would say you didn't quite hit it, but I think that's absolutely nailing the prediction.
Well, just real quick, and this is actually from the Investor Day that just happened just last week on October 4th for Hasbro. Deb Thomas, who is the Chief Financial Officer, in her script, she said, I'm quoting this here. A good example of this is our partnership with Lord of the Rings and Magic the Gathering, leveraging the strong fan base of both IP, driving growth in both strong symbiotic brands. As Cynthia mentioned, we are expanding this aggressively for Magic with new partnerships planned with Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed, along with our just released Warhammer 40,000 themed set. Revenue from these partnerships will follow Hasbro's primary brand category. So they're hitting this hard, and this is going to be the vehicle for that. And that's, we probably will get to one a week at this point.
Yeah. So I guess Secret Layers suck, but Universes Beyond actually I think is really good.
I like that.
Like I should have bought Warhammer because at least from a player perspective, there's actually really fucking good cards in there.
Yeah,
straight
really
up. There's good cards in there. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, I should have bought it. Because at least when I saw the initial price point, I'm like, this is really, really expensive compared to other similar products. Yeah. But if they're going to do this kind of treatment, like I personally really love Lord of the Rings, and I'm probably going to buy the crap out of that.
Sure.
And hopefully they still the danger, at least for me, is from a player perspective, is they always, with these new treatments or new products or whatever, like the first one or two are awesome. Yeah. You get the bang for your buck. It's like, that's holy crap. And so they already did Walking Dead. They've done Warhammer. And I'm really worried then. I'm like, okay, it's the third one. Are you going to shortchange us now? That's what I'm really worried about is because they have a really good track record. Look at Jumpstart, look at collector boosters, all that, like almost every single product. They have did a diminished value over time.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite, if not my favorite, MTG product they ever made was the first batch of Commander Precon decks.
Yes.
Great concept, first of all, but also those that first batch were just so good and so solid. And then, you just see like everything about them sort of like marching down over time as far as what you get. So, I mean, that's a trend I think you can absolutely rely on is that you're going to get less bang for your buck. Especially like with Universes Beyond, where the cachet, you get so much cachet from the brand that they're partnering with.
Yes.
That there's less pressure for them to make powerful cards.
Sure.
Yeah, because at least for them, they're using also Universes Beyond as a vehicle to expand their market. Right?
Yeah,
Their
exactly.
target audience
Yep.
and stuff like that. So it's really, really smart. But I also worry, and maybe they took it as a lesson, was AFR. Adventures from Forgotten Realms. They were like, "Oh, this is going to smash it." And I guess we look at their quarterlies. It helped smash it, right?
Sure.
But at least from a player perspective, I'm like, this kind of sucks. And I've heard from regular player base, so I'm like, maybe that expanded core is where they got all the stuff, but the or expanded audience, but the core is just kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know what to think about Universes Beyond, like, for going forward. But hopefully they will keep the juice in, or however you look at it. But
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this is a good question for both of you. And this is just going to be based mostly on impressions, I guess. How much is like a Universes Beyond set going to pull in new fan bases, new people? Or is it more like, to me, it's more just like, oh, I'm a Magic player and I'm also a Warhammer fan.
Sure.
I'm going to buy the Warhammer decks. Is it really going to make people who like Warhammer be like, all right, I'll buy the Necron Commander deck and try playing Magic the Gathering? I just don't see that working.
It's tough, right?
It's like,
yeah.
it's like, I love Warhammer 40k. I'm going to buy the Warhammer 40k Fruit Loops that are being advertised in my local grocery store.
40K products in general, though, are expensive and limited in general, depending on, certain supply chain as well. So I'm like, their target demographic already is used to spending money. And there are video games about 40K that have done well. So if you're like, oh, there's this new 40K product, Magic. Well, I've heard it from my friends. Or since you're at your LGS, you see those other nerds playing it. It's like, well, now you can be one of those nerds too.
Yeah.
I guess so. I'm hugely skeptical of, in my head, I call it like the Fortnite model. Because Fortnite's entire thing is like, we have our game, but we are just buying licensing from literally anyone. We will blow anyone who will give us the licensing to their IP so that we can put it in our game. Yeah. And I mean, obviously Fortnite is a successful game. Is it going to be around in 5-10 years? I would shit my pants if that were the case.
Sure.
And I just don't see that as being like the path to long-term success for Magic.
Fortnite's been out for 5 years, Kenny.
Yeah.
And so that's a good point. I like a lot of the IPs. I've went into Fortnite, but I am too old of a man to play it.
Yeah.
But if I were playing, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to be Goku. Hell yeah, I want to be Master Chief. So maybe it. Who knows if it's really expanding the core? Or maybe it's just the people that are like, I really like this other thing, and now it's in my Fortnite, or now it's in my MTG, and hell yeah, I'm going to buy the shit out of that because I want to play that.
Yeah, I think that's hitting it on the head, though. That's what I'm saying is like, oh, I'm a Magic fan, and I love Bloodborne. So when they come out with the Bloodborne set, I'm going to buy them. P.S. This is not Kenny talking. I would never do that. That sounds awful to me personally. But I think that's how it works. And it sounds like, Josh, what you're saying, when Lord of the Rings comes out, you're going to be like, I love Lord of the Rings. I want to buy Gandalf. I want to buy Balrogs. I want to crack Lord of the Rings booster packs.
I bet the One Ring is going to be a mythic, and there's going to be a uber blinged out version.
Totally.
I want that Bilbo Baggins. Give me that Bilbo Baggins. Or what's his face? What's his face and his hot wife? You're
talking about Tom
Bombadillo.
Tom Bombadillo. Yeah. Hey, you can just stay here with me and my hot wife, or you could go out there and deal with all that shit. Your choice.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Tom.
I think it's more the latter. It's that you're not necessarily bringing more people in. It's just that your current base is paying more for a premium product, and in exchange you get the IP.
It's clearly working. I mean,
it is.
I just watched a little snippet of Cosmonaut Marcus guest starring on a Magic the Gathering show. He's a huge Warhammer fan and a big Magic fan. And he was in a sponsored segment where they're playing the Warhammer Commander decks.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I've no shade on him for getting that cash at all. But there's something there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't speak to me personally, but I also think I'm just like a really bad person. I'm like their worst nightmare is like someone to test products on, because I just buy so little overall. I've spent money on Arena drafting over the past few years. That's basically been my interaction with Magic from a wallet perspective.
As you follow the rule of just buy singles, right, Kenny?
I do follow that rule. I have bought a single secret layer, though. I will admit.
Trying to think which one that'd be.
Seb McKinnon?
Nope.
Don't know which one is it, Kenny?
I don't know that either.
I bought the Dan Frazier Signets.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, sure.
he did the full cycle of Ravnica Signets in his Moxen style of like holding this, you know, the iconic with the old frame. I bought it for the cube. So, I mean, even I can be got. Like, you can get me with the right product. And I have something else that I want to talk about. We're going to say that for the very end about what we want from an MTG product. But mine's kind of related to that. Let's talk about Unfinity real quick. We did allude to Unfinity and the unsets earlier because we were talking about Silver Border. So the old unsets, unhinged, unglued, unpossible, whatever they were. These were, you know, the joke sets, Mark Rosewater's Special Baby, where you get to do fun, wacky, silly things, things that you couldn't print in a real Magic card. And my favorite ones of these were ones where they tried something and eventually it made its way into Black Border Magic. Do you remember a card called The Cheese Stands Alone?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So this was a Silver Border card where if it's the only thing you have, the only permanent you have, you win the game. Yeah. Something along those lines. And eventually they did print functionally the exact same card in Black Border. It was called Barren Glory, I think. Yeah. So it was like a fun experimental ground for them as well. And Mark Rosewater really wanted to do another one of these. And it seems like the story behind the scenes was the boys upstairs were basically like, okay, but these don't sell super well, so we're going to need to do something to make it actually sell. Yeah. And of course, the easy way to do that is to say, you can play with these cards in real Magic games.
Right?
But you can't do that with a lot of the uncards, obviously. Right. They just don't work, because they're like dependent on the color of your shirt, or saying naughty poo-poo words at the table, or whatever. Ouch. Yeah. So they came up with this bizarre system that I couldn't even tell you exactly how it works, where they have different hollow stamps at the bottom that tell you if it's legal in Eternal formats or not. There's an acorn, which means not legal?
Not legal.
And then the other stamp says, yes, it's okay to play this in Eternal formats.
Because it's the regular MTG.
Just the regular stamp.
Okay.
But they're all silver bordered. So now silver bordered.
They're all black bordered.
They're all black bordered. That's right. So it's a totally different unworld here.
Consumer perspective, it really sucks to be like, gotta look at the small little foil. Yeah. Also, they've had print issues with that foil in this unset. I've been reading. I haven't cracked any yet, but I'm like, great. Yeah, fucked it up anyways.
Yeah. Well, they also, when they were announcing it, I don't know what the deal was, if they were like, their spoiler images were not final card images, but they had the wrong foils on like the card preview images as well. So they had some cards that were like set to be in the Eternal formats legal, and then they're like, oh, actually that's not going to be the case, because people are like, how is this possibly going to be legal? It was a big confusing mess, and still is. So I guess maybe that's just a good place to start. What do we think about, in general, the idea of some of these cards being legal in Eternal formats? What do you think, Seth?
I mean, for me, let these just be themselves. And I get from a company perspective how these were just kind of like its own little ecosystem where they just kind of played. And I'm sure they did not do well because they're not legal anywhere else, but in its own little world, and why play it? I mean, that was my opinion of them too. But now we're starting to blur that line between tournament play and some of those uncards are, no pun intended, going to be unfun for a lot of games at that point. So, not a fan. I personally will not play this. It's just not my thing.
Doesn't appeal.
Yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me. But man, I can see where a lot of people are going to be pissed. Just having access to these cards.
It's a smart marketing.
Oh, sure.
From saying, hey, there's legal in there, because especially with the Shocklands, Shocklands in there, and there's these very nice treatments, and there's actually, it's turning out to be about one Shockland Galaxy foil per collector booster box.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're super rare. They're all going for over $100 a card right now. Already. And that's pretty good for a product that's usually a weak product. At least I'm just looking at MTG right now, and the boxes haven't really collapsed. Usually, like, collector boosters have been collapsing pretty shortly after release, and they're still over a 200 right now on TCG Player. So I'm like, that's pretty good. The last one that did pretty good from a more standard set was Kamigawa, but all the other ones are just dog shit. Sorry, you beat me for that or whatever.
No, you can swear on this podcast.
But I think the legal cards will be cool and fine. The things I'm not too wild about is all the stickers. I don't know if there are any modern legal sticker cards, because I haven't gone through all the cards. But if there are, that would suck. Yeah. Because now you're introducing another mechanic when there's like already all these other mechanics that have been introduced over the past 2 years. And this one would just be so finicky if any of those sticker cards are, modern legal or whatever.
If I'm thinking correctly, there definitely are legal sticker cards on digital platforms.
Ooh, okay. Oh, and they're going to do that. Oh.
So it's easier to track and manage those things digitally, where you're not literally dealing with physical stickers. But yeah, it's kind of a bizarre thing to introduce into your game. I think back in the day, there would have been more of an uproar about these cards being legal in other formats, where it's like, oh, the sanctity of my legacy format. But there's just so much crap out there now with Secret Layers and Universes Beyond.
Bring it on.
You literally just can't get mad about these things now. Like, do you remember when the Walking Dead Secret Layer first happened? And everybody was, just beside themselves with how ridiculous that was. And I was among them. We've released several episodes about it. And now that just seems quaint. That seems hilarious.
Yeah. I know. That's why I bought one of the boxes there, because there was so much controversy around it. And I don't know. It just seems like the more controversy there is around a product there, I mean, it sells, right?
Yeah. I think, I don't know, this kind of goes back to our conversation about 30th anniversary.
Yeah,
it does. They do have this strategy, I think, of like almost just jumping the shark. Because I remember one of the first things they announced when they're like, we're doing Universes Beyond. And their first things they said, we're doing Warhammer, we're doing Lord of the Rings, we're doing D&D. And it's like, okay. And then the very next one they announced, they're like, and we're doing Fortnite. Yeah, like that was literally one of the partnerships they announced. And I think it was Pleasant Kenobi was just like, it's brilliant, because now how do you make fun of them? Like, there's nothing you can say
Right.
that they might try to do that would seem more silly or ridiculous than this.
Exactly.
And the 30th anniversary is like, how are you gonna satirize them now?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine $1,000 for 60 random proxies.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't know how to make fun of you now. And whatever you do next will seem pretty reasonable, I guess.
It just softens the blow for the next thing. Yeah.
Okay. I've got multiple other topics here, but I'm more interested in what you guys want to talk about. So this is kind of a broad topic overall, but it's an important one given you two and your Magic the Gathering pedigrees. Collecting, speculating, MTG finance, and for me the most interesting part is how these things interact with gameplay, because there are all kinds of collectible things that you can take part in.
Sure.
But Magic is different from many of them in that there is a game here, and the things that you're collecting often are the pieces required to play the game in the first part. So I lay it at your feet, I suppose. Why are you two killing Magic?
Very funny, Kenny. There we go. Kenny, I just love the game. And, you know, when you love something so much, you just give it a big old squeeze. And sometimes it can't breathe, you know. And so.
Well, I mean, do you think... Because I think people... This is another meme, Tolarian Community College meme, the idea of, like, this is killing Magic. And he had a whole video where he talked about... He went through the entire history of Magic, and the many times people have said,
yes,
this is killing Magic.
Yes.
And the joke, of course, being that every time somebody has said, this is killing Magic, Magic has been just fine. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's a setup for where I land on this. Do you think these products and this ramping up that we're seeing, does it pose any actual danger to the game's longevity?
Longevity, I would say no. But if you look in the next maybe year to 3, you could see a disenfranchisement of some of the play base, because, you know, I forget, it was back before 2012, I think, like between 2007 and 2010 or whatever, there was definitely a lull in player base,
sure,
right? And then when Lorwyn and all that came back, everyone's like, this is the best time to get back into Magic. And so I think because of how aggressive WotC and Hasbro is being, we will probably get disenfranchisement, and we'll get into one of those, you know, 3 to 5 year troughs. Mm-hmm. And then they will restructure how they distribute product and design it and all that kind of stuff. And then there'll be another ebb and flow, because Magic's ebbed and flowed a few times. That's the most recent one I could think of is in that time frame.
No, that's true. I remember getting reinvigorated by the game around the time M10 and Zendikar was coming back in. And that was one of those periods of regrowth and rejuvenation in the game where they kind of looked at what they were doing and they're like, it's time to rethink what we've been doing for a while now, guys. I think that's a pretty good take. What about you, Seth?
No, I think that's fair. I don't think that, like, collecting, speculating, and all that stuff's really killing it per se. And I think the Wizards will, you know, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit here, but I think that they will move on maybe in a different way, perhaps. But yeah, once we figure out laws and stuff like that, I mean, just think about, like, you know, we had like the pandemic and all that stuff, and they were just releasing product left and right, and
it's huge demand.
Yeah, huge demand. Everybody wanted it, and there's always just like that crest, you know, like anytime you see like a graph and there's like this fever pitch of everything, all of a sudden it's just going to just fall off from burnout and everything else. You can have too much of a good thing, that's for sure. And I personally got burnt out. I was playing all the time. I was playing in tournaments. I was playing in Friday Night Magic. I was doing everything that I possibly could. All of a sudden I was like, God, I gotta stop just for a minute, just walk away for a minute. And I think collectively, I think a lot of people did that until, you know, like Lauren came out, you know, introduced Planeswalkers, got some new variants, everything else like that. And it still took me a minute to actually get back to it. But once I did, I was like, I kind of forgot how fun this was. So I'm kind of turning back into that a little bit. Like I was just playing and playing and playing, and now it's just like, man, I gotta sit back here just for a little bit. I think I've played one draft for the current set. I really think I have, and I was just like, it's too much right now, because like I've been watching YouTube videos, I've been watching all the stuff like around Magic. I'm like, I gotta get away for a minute. So I mean, I'm one data point, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to be doing this, but no, I think there's, to Josh's point, I think there's just ebb and flows to all this, and I think with, we can look at macroeconomics here associated with this too. I mean, we're playing a game that is, kind of frivolous purchase now at this point. So like, going back
to
a
luxury hobby.
It's a luxury hobby. That's exactly right. So, like it's on other examples like boats, motorcycles, stuff like that. Like those are all luxury purchases. Those are the first things that you cut back on if there's a recession, stuff like that that's actually going on today. Josh, you look at the prices more than I do of like booster boxes and stuff like that, which I think is more commoditized than like cards themselves. Like cards, I think are more speculative versus like boxes. I think are a little bit more commoditized. But maybe general trends, like you were saying, they just kind of tank like whenever they get released and all that stuff. And you get that fever pitch, goes right back down. So I personally think that we'll start seeing two things. Economically, people are going to try and just sell their cards because they can't afford to do other things that they need to be doing. So that will draw the price down. We'll not be paying as much for like drafts and stuff like that from like Arena and all these online options. And then the second thing is some people are just going to get burnt out because they've been playing this for so long and, 24 hours a day for too long. And, we'll just have to take a break. And then, again, I think that'll just be part of the natural cycle for Wizards there.
Yeah, for me, like I used to, back when Lorwyn and all that kind of stuff, I was just doing everything all the time. And I got burnt out because I was trying to kind of be peak on everything. And holy crap. And so I got back into it around Ikoria, or maybe one set, or Ikoria is the real big set that for me. And Amber and Kenny here started doing their podcast, and so I started listening. But at that point, I actively decided I can't be at the peak anymore because of life and all these other things, right? And so I kind of stopped playing Arena too, because I just get in that mode of like, no, I have to climb, I have to grind, I have to be the top. And so I set myself aside to this and enjoying, Red Mage, Blue Mage, listening to the professor and other people. Speculative investing is really what it is, right?
Absolutely.
And then booster drafting every set. So at some point when Kenny and you and all these other people, we can figure out some kind of schedule. But my most favorite way of playing Magic is booster draft, because there's pretty much two. As I've told others, there are two games in that game. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah. I think it's to go on a slight tangent here. It's two things. There's two games in one: the draft and then the playing of it.
Yeah.
But also, I've always loved how drafting puts everybody on an even playing field, where it's like if I sit down at a Commander game, you might beat me with your $3,000 Commander deck, and I lose with my $100 jank. But when we sit down to draft, it's about who can navigate the draft and who can outplay the other person. And it's not about who can throw their wallet at the game.
Yeah. So at least for me, it's like I've already paced myself, but I view there's going to be a lot of the population that won't be able to pace themselves, especially with the cadence of product that WotC is doing. And it's like, okay, you have a really high cadence now. You've increased your price point recently, which is, that's another topic we need to touch on. That distributor price increase is brutal. So cadence increase, price increase, macroeconomics downturn. It's
something's got to give.
Yeah.
And then also you take all those things together, and then I think sort of a steady, I don't know, just trading your reputation over time is also backfiring. one thing we mentioned, the reserve list with the 30th anniversary thing, on top of it just being them spitting in your eye and saying happy 30th anniversary, it's also them going back on what they've been publicly saying for years very loudly. Like, people continually asking, will we ever get reserve list cards? And they're just like, no, absolutely not, forget about it. And then just saying, okay. It's rough on consumer confidence.
Yeah.
And this is all on the same arc of like bans increasing by 10,000% across every format.
Yep.
There's just a lot of different factors coming together that you can't keep. They can't keep getting away with it. I think it's going to catch up with them. But I think we're all kind of on the same page that I don't know. To kill Magic would take something monumental.
There's enough of a nucleus there. I think there's enough of a foundation that it's going to be there in some way, shape, or form. Now, what that looks like, I couldn't begin to say. But I think there is enough of a nucleus, and it was the first one to market, right? I mean, that's that. There's always something to be said with that one.
It's like the World of Warcraft syndrome.
Yeah,
you know, like being that juggernaut who was the first at the table. Really, is like it puts you in such a ridiculous position.
Mm-hmm. So you know, a different product. I don't know if you guys remember the Microsoft Zune. Does that ring a bell?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I do
Okay,
remember this.
That is a classic example, and that's actually what economic classes will speak to, is how important first to market is. So the iPod came out about 7-8 months before that, and it just caught on like wildfire. Zune was a better product by all shapes and by all accounts.
It's a good design.
I know it was vastly superior, but the problem was it just lost out, and everybody already who wanted the iPod at the time already had it, and it just left it in its wake. So no, I think that Wizards has established itself well enough, especially in paper. I think in digital, I think it just has enough of a namesake to be able to carry itself on there. Now, Hearthstone did beat it to market, if I remember right. Not by much, but I think it was just a little bit. But
they had MTGO, remember?
They had MTGO, yeah. No, it's true.
Hearthstone,
does that really count, though?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. To some people, yeah. Some people also were really ticked off about that. But that's another story.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think that all that being said, I think Magic will be around in some way, shape, or form, but what it looks like, who knows?
True.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Arena, their digital offerings are substantial now.
They are.
Substantial revenue generation for them, that they will still have players from there. They probably have players that are just pure digital, pure paper, and in between, right? Yeah. And so as long as Arena is free to play in general, even with economic downturns and all that kind of stuff, and even these printers, and if their digital audience is just like, okay, I free to play, I grind it, you can go infinite still, so you can still have fun and not really be impacted by a lot of the other trends we were talking about. Yeah.
It's true. I mean, that's why Arena drafts is the way that I engage with the game. And I get so much schadenfreude from people complaining about the prices on Arena, because it's like, I don't play Constructed on Arena. Yeah. Because that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. That's what I did, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I don't know how anybody does.
No.
One last thing before we get to my extra special bonus topics here. Seth, you wanted to talk about, I don't know what the term is, ebrietas? Ebonitas?
Arnitas.
Yeah. So, I always call it EBITDA. So it's, what is it? Earnings before
interest, tax, and
interest, tax,
something else.
Yeah. We gotta look that up now.
And ass.
Means before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, what part of your company is making you money? Essentially, at this point. So, at the investor, this was at the Q2 financial results. There was this nice little pamphlet that showed who was making money within Hasbro. And I looked at it. So the EBITDA for the company, non-adjusted, was $285.4 million for the quarter. So not bad. Of that, they were able to break it down between consumer products, Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming, and then entertainment. So their entertainment is like their movies, think like Transformers, stuff like that. And then like their consumer products are like your Monopolies, your board games and stuff like that. And then you got Wizards of the Coast and anything associated with it, and digital gaming for them. So yeah. Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming is 80% of their earnings, essentially. I'm just going to say earnings. Just know when I say earnings, I'm going to use those. And I know that's, if we have any finance people that are listening to this, I apologize in advance, but just for ease of use, I'm going to say earnings here for this one. Please know that I mean EBITDA. It counts for 80% of the earnings here for Hasbro. And
seems crazy to me.
It truly is. So it
is crazy.
This is Wizards of the Coast that's running Hasbro. But the problem is, this is Hasbro trying to run Wizards of the Coast. This is a group of people who know board games. They don't know necessarily. Now, I realize that they bought Wizards of the Coast in 99, and then I think they officially took over in like 2001 or something like that. So they've had it a while. But keep in mind that we really didn't have much digital gaming, and it wasn't on the forefront. I mean, we did have MTGO. People who have used it, they know what it's like. So wasn't really invested in all that much. It was the cards, and it was the paper products, the tangible things that we could actually have. Now we started getting into the digital age and everything else like that. And I think in my personal opinion, I think that they don't really know how to run this part of it. They're trying to use all of their old ideas, trying to work something that's just not working out for it. So, and then previously, just to give a little bit of history, this year in Q1, Q2, I think it was like March or April or so, there was actually an activist group that tried to do what's called a spin-off. So company spin-offs happen all the time. They're not as sexy as like mergers and acquisitions or anything like that. So one very, very popular one is PayPal. So PayPal was actually spun off of eBay. So it was actually eBay's property. But it was so successful, eBay doesn't need to run PayPal and turn it into what it is. Like, that's just two competing things, and it's just going to hurt both companies by doing that. So what this activist group was trying to do, and somehow Hasbro thwarted it. I didn't get a chance to really dive too deep into it, but what they were trying to do was spin off Wizards of the Coast to be their own company and let Hasbro go mess with Battleship and all the other stuff, and then Wizards can actually do its own thing. And I'm not going to say that was a good or a bad thing. I'm just going to say it'd be very, very different world if Wizards of the Coast is its own company running its own ship. So I think it'd be very interesting to see how that would actually work. I personally am a fan. I think that would actually be really good. I think there's a lot of different things that we could, they could do, not we. I'm not a part of the company or anything like that.
Well, I think we could do it.
Right? I could be CFO. I don't mind that one. But actually, COO would be... I'd rather be Chief Operating Officer at that point. I like the logistics aspects. But, I think the Unset is a great example. If Mark Rosewater wanted to make this thing in its own little atmosphere, he is more than welcome to do it at that point. And he would not have Hasbro actually saying, no, you can't do that. You need to incorporate this. Stuff like that. I think it would actually be really interesting to see what that looks like.
I think...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think in this imaginary world where they're spun off, Wizards is its own entity, and Mark Rosewater is like, let's do an Unset. I think what would actually happen is they'd be like, no, you can't. I'm sorry. It's not profitable. Yeah. And we don't want to muddy the waters with this bizarre Franken product.
Sure. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So I have been part of a company in the past that was spun off. I wasn't there at the spin-off, but I joined after the spin-off, and it was like the best thing ever for that company. Like, it flourished. and it became over a $3 billion company now. And so I think it would have been better because it's like WotC's not being anchored to Hasbro, and so that means you can be more capital efficient because you're not siphoning some of it off into operations of Hasbro's stuff, right? So you can be much more efficient with all your money, right? I don't know all the different terms, but
especially with it was just recently in the news, wasn't it? Hasbro announcing that they are trying to get 50% growth again in the next year, right?
And that actually pissed off their
3 years.
shareholders.
Next 3 years, yeah.
They said,
and it's like it's a crazy thing that Hasbro is announcing that while Wizards is 80% of their profits. It's basically saying, okay, Workhorse, get out there.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's so weird to me that Magic Arena is paying for maintenance to make Monopoly pieces.
Yeah,
that's stupid. Why would they do that? Like that, spin it off.
Literally printing money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I guess along those lines, the transition a little bit in this topic is, 50% growth in the next 3 years. And what they did, they were shooting for, was it 100% or 50% growth in 5 years, and they did it in 3 years. So they're like, we're just going to do it again.
It was 100, yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, holy shit, do you not know what the economy is doing? It's like, you're being so aggressive.
Yeah.
And especially, we already talked about, probably product fatigue and all these other things. I'm like, you're only setting yourself up for you to not hit that, and then you're going to tank.
Yeah.
Well, when I say tank the stock, not necessarily company.
Sure.
Right.
But with all these companies, the really shitty thing is when the stock tanks, people get fired and stuff like that.
And that sucks. You never like to see that.
Yeah.
No, Hasbro is down about 30% on the year, which is actually further down than, like S&P and all those. So it's actually doing worse. And shareholders really didn't like what they heard at that investor day. Just, talking about what we just talked about, how they're going to be going to the moon with stuff. And shareholders like, do you see what's happening outside? Like, that's not going to happen. Like, what the hell are you doing? So it's kind of funny.
That plus the 30th anniversary happening like within the same day. It was just such a cacophony of nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, that truly just felt like that was like Hasbro not listening to their base to actually like grow. They're listening to their shareholders like, oh yeah, we'll just charge a higher price and product, and people will still buy, of course. And not listening to the player base who was actually playing the game. So if you want to actually improve your market share and like get more people like listen to the 18 to 25 year old group, see what they can afford, what they like, and build on that. Don't cater to us old men.
Well, I think if Amber were here, she'd be interjecting not just Hasbro execs listen to the player base, but listen to the people making your game. Listen to the people actually at Wizards,
and they've all been players. They know.
Well, totally, and they are the people who have the expertise to make this kind of product.
Yes.
I felt so bad watching. I always feel so bad watching the Magic streams where they're like have their front-facing people sharing this stuff.
Yeah.
Watching poor Mark Rosewater sitting on a couch while they're announcing that, I was like, he must just hate life right now, having to sit there and say like, yeah, this is great. We're so excited about this.
But he's also probably a millionaire, so he's like, all right, I'll go through this just to make
Yeah.
At
At a certain point, when you agree to be that front-facing person, that's part of what you're taking on.
It is. Yeah.
All right. To wrap things up here, let's do something a little bit fun. I want to talk about stuff we like. First of two questions for you boys. What is the best Magic the Gathering product from the past, say, 3 years? I won't be super strict on enforcing that, but what do you think is the best product? And you can describe like what makes a great MTG product too in your description of it.
I want to double check something real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and I'll lead off with this one here. So I don't have a specific product per se. But I've been really happy that they further embraced the Commander community and really bringing along a lot of stuff there for that. So a little bit of history on Commander is that was not an official format from Wizards of the Coast, and that was fully quote unquote open source essentially. So it was a format that was created by the community, and much longer than 3 years ago, Wizards said, yes, we acknowledge that Commander exists. They had the precons and everything else like that. Now, about when the pandemic happened, they started doing more stuff for Commander, and I know that they've been releasing a lot more stuff for Commander to be able to support that format. So I've actually been really impressed with that one. I personally, it's Cube Draft and it's Commander for me. Those are about the two sets that I really... I guess I'll just say drafting because I'll do some limited, no matter what. But those are about the two formats that I really play on, and that is one case where Wizards did listen to their player base. Commander is very, very popular. I think maybe even the most popular format that's actually being played now. So they're actually listening, supporting that. So I think that's kudos for them.
Yeah, it is a Commander world.
It is.
It drives a lot of their sales. I mean, you can see it in what they put out there. Like every single set has a very pronounced Commander focus, both in terms of like things planted directly in the set.
Yes.
Every set also has like Commander precons and like all these extra cards that are specifically for Commander.
For me, it's like kind of variable. Like modern, I'm just looking at launch release products, right? And I didn't play the past 3 years because I pretty much started very close to when Throne of Eldraine started. I started.
So you started 2019 to 2020 because Ikoria you said is when you really started getting into it, and that was 2020.
Yeah, so pretty much when Red Mage Blue Mage started, I started ramping up to it, and then Ikoria was when I really hit it hard. So Modern Horizons 2, I think as a premium product was really good because you still got 36 packs. It had a premium price, but there was actually good cards in there. Like I forget what land treatment was in there. Was it Fetch Lands? Scalding Tarn is Fetch Lands. Yeah, they put Fetch Lands in there.
Yeah.
They had Fetch Lands in there, and all the other cards not all the cards, but in general, the card base was pretty good. It wasn't necessarily the best, but overall, really good value. Actually, it had the monkey in it.
Ragavan.
It had all the endurance and the like. Yeah, it had the fetch lands. It actually had Urza Saga. Actually, in general, there were even good rares in there, and just straight up. So it was a good draft experience. You paid a little bit of premium, but you got potentially really good cards. At least when we've drafted in general, if everyone would pool their cards in the end, we could play for free, right? And it's still at this price point, you could still probably do it. Though if we look at non-premium, it'd be Ikoria, right, for me, or maybe Throne of Eldraine. Those two sets were more kind of out there. At least for Ikoria, it introduced the Triomes. Initially people were like, Triomes, but I believe people
Triomes
around.
are awesome.
Yeah, they're great.
I know, but there were definitely some people the cycle's too much, it comes in tapped, all that kind of stuff. But in general, people have swung back around and be like, actually Triomes, check them out.
Having 3 basic land types, go figure.
Yes. And then this kind of call out post or whatever was the not call out post, but like a shout out would be the Time Spiral Remaster. Before Amazon, or before, no, I should say not Amazon, before WotC figured out how they can start squeezing people for cash. Because when that first was, available for pre-order, 36 packs, new treatment, and it was like between $120 and $160. I forget the exact price. It's like really, this overall really good bang for the buck and exciting new product. And then they realized, we can. That's when the ratcheting started, and they realized their full power of using Amazon as their distributor, right? And it just. So the first half great. Second half is when I think we started to see some of these issues that we are still experiencing today.
Yeah, I would agree. I think in a vacuum, Time Spiral Remastered is probably going to be my favorite. A, just love that set. B, it could really have used some remastering and like tweaking of things that made it not the best to play.
Yeah.
And then all the old card treatments. That was a set that really did feel like a love letter to fans of the game.
Absolutely.
So I agree that was really cool. I would say for me personally, just as far as like what I've enjoyed, I would say Kamigawa Neon Dynasty was my favorite product within the last few years. And they did something bold with it. We revisited a world that really needed sort of a revisiting that people have been asking for. And they didn't do the basic easy thing of like, here it is again.
Yeah.
Right.
I love how they approached it. Yeah.
Yeah, they moved the world forward, they took some risks, and they made a really fun, dynamic draft environment. I think that was a home run set for me personally. All right, last question to round us out here. I asked you guys to design the MTG product that you personally would want to buy. And I'll go ahead and say, Josh and I were texting about this.
Yes.
Trying to guess what the other person would do, and we both basically guessed correct on what the other person would do. Josh, you want to lead off here?
Sure, yeah. I really got back hard into... So I guess a little bit of feedback or a little bit of history is I started playing Magic around 99. There was, I don't know, all this stuff back then, right? And so I played it all through middle school. And then high school was high school, and I didn't do it. And I didn't get back into it until midway through college. And then that was when M10, 10th edition, Lorwyn, and all that kind of stuff was happening. And so I played the shit out of Lorwyn. And it's a very unique set even today, I would say. Like, Thronal Drain's, I think, the closest in that kind of uniqueness. So I want a freaking Lorwyn remastered product, please. Because... Other tangent, this 30th anniversary edition, was $1,000, and I was just like, recently, within the past week, I was like, maybe I just buy a Lorwyn booster draft box.
Yeah.
And I think with some work, I could probably get one for between $1,200 to $1,300, and it's a set I really, really love for many, many reasons. So I'm like,
it'd
maybe
be an actual box of cards.
It would be an actual box of cards. So I just want that Lorwyn remastered, please.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be.
That'd be cool to see what they could do with like all the crazy frame treatments that they have access to now. Like what you would do with that.
That'd be cool.
How about you, Seth?
All right, so kind of a little similar vein on this one here. Like I would not pay $1,000 for the product that's about to be sold for the 30th anniversary. I'm out at that one. So I was asking myself, okay, what would I pay $1,000 for? So I was like, okay. So, at that point, I personally think, and there's a bunch of different ways you could go with this one here. And I think this could be nice for Wizards to fix a couple things where if there's too much demand for, I'd say that's just it. I'll go ahead and just mention like what I think would be the thing, but I think there's a lot of different ways you could go about this to really kind of rectify maybe some lingering problems like in the secondary market on this one. So for me, huge fan of the vintage cube. Anytime it comes out like the holiday cube. So for me, come out with a paper version of the holiday cube, an annual holiday paper cube for $1,000 each. I'd pay for one of those.
That's very similar. That's a good bridge because I to go in a slightly different direction, but related to the cube. I thought like some sort of pre-constructed cube product where it's like, here's the card list, you buy this box, and you have a fully functioning cube ready to go.
That's exactly right.
And they could totally do it the way they create their commander decks, where it's like, here is a good, enjoyable experience right out of the box that you can have fun with your friends. But we also put in some cards that are maybe not ideal, not what you would hand pick.
Sure.
So you can go out there and get more cards, buy more stuff from us, and make an even better experience and customize it and tweak it. Other companies offer this already, just with just their own singles. They build these deck lists and you can get it. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done it. I guess I know why they haven't done it is because why sell you a box of several hundred cards when they could sell you 60 cards for so much more money? Like,
oh, it's true. Yeah.
But this is our fantasy world we're talking about.
That's right.
So, Seth, you're talking about this vintage cube or holiday cube thing. Are you imagining it being like black bordered?
Well, that's
insane.
Like, yeah, I think this would be like the like the gold backing or whatever. So it'd be like all proxies essentially at that point. But how many cards are you getting there at that point instead of just like the 4 packs and all that stuff with like potentially a Black Lotus? Now you get all the Black Lotuses that you get one in there. You get the Power 9 in there, all that stuff. So, I mean, if they're going to, like there's, politicians and stuff like that, like they might say that they're not going to do an issue. They are going to do something. A way to get around that is to have so much policy around that it can be prohibitive for something. So, like if you're saying, oh, I'm not going to touch this. I'm trying to think of a good example, but you just bury something in so much policy and make it almost impossible to actually be able to do this thing that you've essentially made your position on this one. So in this regard here, you're not touching the vintage, or excuse me, the reserve list, but it's you might as well have, like, you're just right on that hairy edge there at that point. So if you're going to do this, why don't you just go full bore and just print like a non-tournament legal vintage cube each year. So curate it to change it every year, because they always want to incorporate their new products and everything like that. I guess for me, I think the vehicle for this would be like a secret lair essentially, so they can just do like a print run. That's how I envision it. So you just buy on demand.
They did that for Commander deck. So
I was going to say they did that. Heads I win, tails you lose. So there's precedent.
So I think there's plenty of ways to be able to do that functionally for Wizards, and I think it would be just an annual profit machine for them to be able to do that kind of thing.
I had one thing kind of similar, bring it all the way back to our conversation on 30th anniversary that we started with. And I sent this, I can't remember, to one or both of you when we were first talking about this announcement. And I was like, if they had just done a secret layer where it's like, here's the Power 9 in gold border, and it's $100, let's say. I think there would have been parades in the streets celebrating Wizards, being like, just like,
you did it. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
A great job. It was and it would have sold like absolute hotcakes. Yeah. And people would be, even if they did that in addition to what they're offering. If they had given some different treatment, here's just the Power 9 proxies, gold bordered, here you go. And then also here's this insane $1,000 thing for you whales out there. I don't think anybody would have any problems with what they're doing.
No.
I guess maybe people would grumble and be like, wow, it's greedy much, but whatever. All right. Any final notes, fellas?
I think I'm good.
We just don't run corporations yet, so we just don't understand this pure greed.
I guess that's
the politics.
True. All right. Plugs. Anything you want to shout out before we sign off today?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at EvilDMJosh. I still use that. One day I might podcast again, role-playing games, but for now, you can play the game I'm designing, Forged in the Dungeon. You can just Google that or go to
labawesome.itch.io.
If you like Dungeons & Dragons or Forged in the Dark games or Blades in the Dark or Dungeon World, any of those things, come check it out. It's only $5 right now. It will go up in price someday, but if you
get on the ground floor.
Exactly. It's a fun game. But I'm the creator. I'm biased.
All right, Seth?
I mean, no shout outs necessarily. Just be good to each other and support your community.
Wow.
I know.
Good guy, Seth.
So noble.
Wow, so noble.
I'm on Twitter at Wolfmere. Thanks for joining me, guys, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Good
us.
Yeah,
night.
thanks for having
Peace.
us. Bye.
Sometimes, winning a game isn't about dealing the most damage, or drawing the most cards, or making any measurable contribution towards victory. But hey, just because you don't have the stats doesn't mean you're not a f***ing gamer god, alright? Enter The Intangibles, a podcast on the Geekspective network, where me, Kenny, and my brother Matt break down all the things that are hard to quantify in games. All kinds of games. We're talking classics like Sonic's the Hedgehogs, and chess, and 3D Pinball Space Cadet. Great game, by the way. We're talking new releases like
Insert latest trending games on Twitch here.
single player, co-op, competitive, card games, board games, role-playing games, play-by-mail games, the Wakes. We do deep dives into our favorite games, digging into the intangibles that make them great and the intangibles that will make you a better player, and hey, maybe even a better person. Check out the intangibles on whatever the heck platform you're listening to right now.